Hello everyone. In today's video I'm going to be doing 3 Dredgen Warlock armor sets. This was brought to my attention by someone named Chorty in my comment section. He commented it like 20 times over the time span of like 3 months. So I highly respect that. I think that he clearly wants me to make this, so that's what I'm doing. I utilized 3 exotics, the Stag, Nazareth Sin, and Ophidian Aspect. I tried to use exotics that people would actually use. Obviously the Stag would be a little iffy, but people still do use the Stag. Some people do, so I decided to use it. It looks good, and it's not like the worst exotic in the game. Obviously there's Nazareth Sin, which is amazing. Obviously there's Ophidian Aspect, which is amazing. I didn't want to use something like Starfire Protocol, just something like that where nobody really uses it. You might use this for Atheon and then never again. So for that reason, I went with those 3 exotics. A quick message to Mr. Chorty. I apologize that this took a long time. I did not realize we were this dedicated to the Dredgen fashion, but it is here now. Thank you for reminding me. For the first set, I'm utilizing the Stag without the ornament. The ornament ruins it. I think this ornament only looks good when you're pairing it with the Deep Zone Crypt armor, and obviously we're not doing that right now, so don't use it with the ornament, just use it as the normal Stag. Then I'm using the Illicit Collector Gloves. I think these look good, but unfortunately, because Bungie is weird, we cannot transmog the Notorious armor, only the Illicit ones, and the Notorious ones take shaders just a little bit better, but it doesn't matter. The entire ability is utilizing Cade's Duds. It was a Forsaken pre-order bonus, but it is now in Bright Engrams, so if you can get it from there, you can do this build. I'd also suggest using Mercury Vexchrome, as it is very similar for this specific armor set, and Prime Palette. Mercury Vexchrome comes from Bright Engrams. Prime Palette is currently unobtainable. It was from Gambit Prime and Reckoning Gear when you dismantle it. However, a lot of people did do that, so if you have it, you should. Most people, if they played then, should have it. If you didn't play then, which I know a lot of you didn't, that's no fault to you, just you wouldn't have this. So hopefully you either have Mercury Vexchrome, which is pretty common, or Cade's Duds. I went with the Prodigal Robes with Cade's Duds, but if you either don't like these ones or don't have it, there's a very similar robe, and it's called the Tangled Web Robes. I would use either of them. I think they both look good. I just like the cuff, like the kind of collar right here, just a little bit more on the Prodigal Robes. But you could go with the Tangled Web Robes. It's not a huge deal. Then I went with the Prodigal Steps with Cade's Duds. Same thing as the Prodigal Robe. It just kind of matches. It's kind of a beat up, because this is what this build is, just kind of a beat up theme. You could go with something like the Anka Seeker. Just anything like that, but I went with the either the Tangled Web Boots or the Prodigal Steps. They're very, very similar, as you can see. They barely change at all, they just put a little rope right here. So any of those would be fine, but I just like these ones. And then finally we went with the Be Thy Cipher with Cade's Duds. This whole build was meant to be kind of beat up. I put these arms here so you could clearly still tell it was a Dredgen. I just kind of made this build because Dredgens are not always clean. They're kind of dirty, like for example Drifter. Drifter's not the cleanest guy out there. So this is just kind of supposed to encapsulate that a little bit. For the second one, I wanted to go with a little bit more of a clean, less kind of beat up and dirty and kind of brown look, but still encapsulate the Dredgen look. So I decided to go with lights on both Nazareth Sin and on the Bond. I utilized Gambit Jadestone for 4 pieces, and Old Growth, which is this season's Gambit shader that I know a lot of people don't know about because nobody likes Gambit. I would highly suggest getting this. This is a great shader. So I went with the Nazareth Sin with no ornament and Gambit Jadestone so I can get the lights to show. I went with the Anka Seeker 4 with Old Growth. However, if you don't like these or if you don't have them, you can also use the High Minded Complex, which are pretty much the same thing, just a different color. So it's up to you on that part. Then I went with the Calamity Rig Robes. It surprises me every time someone asks how to get these, because you just have to do the weekly challenge for Gambit. Just do 8 bounties, and it'll give you a chance at unlocking these. If you do all 5 weekly challenges, you're guaranteed to unlock all 5 pieces. I highly suggest unlocking these. These armor sets are really nice, especially the robes. I went with Gambit Jadestone. I went with the Valkyrian Boots with Gambit Jadestone. Seeing as how this robe goes down so far and it kind of covers all the legs, it doesn't really matter, but I went with the Valkyrian robes just to kind of match, because just in case. And then finally I went with the Dido Bond with Gambit Jadestone. I wanted a light on the bond, but I didn't want something like ridiculous like this. The dado bond is small, but you can still see the bright Gambit Jadestone, and I think it matches really well with the lights that I was going for on the Nazareth Sin. For the last one, this is my personal favorite. I decided to go less Dredgen and more just encapsulating the snake aspect of Dredgen, but I decided to go with red and not green. It's just my opinion. You could pretty much go with any of them. You could go with the white one from the collector robes, you could go with the green one. I think the green one would look really good. I just couldn't find a shader. Obviously you could use Gambit Jadestone on the helmet, but I couldn't find a shader that would make the lights on the helmet match up with the lights on the chest piece. Obviously Gambit Jadestone would make a match, but then Gambit Jadestone is unbelievably bright. So for that reason, I decided to go with red. This is my favorite one that I've made so far out of the 3. It utilizes the facade of the Hezen Lords. I did this because for some reason this really reminds me of a snake. I just think this helmet looks very snake-like, especially compared to a lot of the helmets in the game. I think this one matches really well. I didn't want to use this. I don't like this helmet. Let's be honest, I'll come right out of the gate with that one. I don't like it. There's a couple helmets I'm going to suggest. One being the Moonfang Crown. Obviously one being the Hezen Lord's helmet. And then finally, the High Mina Complex. I think all of these look good with this build. Just keep in mind, there's going to be that white, which is a little annoying, but I'm sure you could probably work around it. For the arms, I went with the Caduceus Ornament with Midnight Smith. In my opinion, this doesn't look good at all. The Caduceus Ornament really ties it together because you can see that it's red and black. You can't really see it with there, and it just kind of messes up the whole build. So 100% if you have the ornament, use it. Illicit Invader Robes with the Abyssinian Gold. Illicit Invader Boots with Abyssinian Gold. And the Phantasmagoric Bond with Refurbished Black Armory. You could probably use something else. This thing is just small, but it's also super bright, and you can clearly tell that it has red lights on it. So I 100% wanted to go with this one, but if you didn't have it, because it's from Festival of the Lost, and I know a lot of people didn't buy those skeleton armor sets, you could probably go with something else. I'm probably just going to leave that to your decision. You could probably go with something small like the Praefectus Bond, whatever. But if you do have it, I would go with the Phantasmagoric Bond, because it just kind of encapsulates everything. Yeah, so this is my favorite one. If someone pulls off a green one, I'm sure you probably could. I think it would look nice. Just, I don't know, I didn't have any shaders to go with. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you really do want me to make something like this, if you have a great idea, there's 2 things. Obviously, you can put it in the comments. I do read comments all the time. You can look and you see that I've hearted the majority of the comments on every video. So I do read your comments, but you can also go to the Discord and @ me. The Discord will be in the description. Same with my Twitch if you want to follow it. I always respond to ats in the Discord. I don't care if you @ me. Please, if you have a good idea, @ me. My Twitch will be in the description, my Discord will be in the description, my Twitter will be in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate your support.